Hi, I'm Richa Sharma. I am a psychiatric social worker working with Better Me Healthcare. And as a part of our ongoing series on women and mental health, I'll be answering one of the questions that we came across. Now, this question is around the theme of women and oppression. And the question is that women who have had to or are still stuck in toxic or abusive households. Uh, Even if they have the chance, sometimes refrain from seizing their freedom in the moments that they can. They are heavily oppressed, bullied, and emotionally drained, yet they would side with the oppressor and refuse to draw boundaries even in places that they can. It's like they have accepted their life in subordination to the abuser or the toxic relationship. Uh, and It's like they do not want to get out. How do I, as a friend, console them or convince them to resist the oppressor? So, first of all, thank you so much for that question. I think that's a very important question. And I'm sure all of us have been in that situation where we would have wanted to help that relative or that friend see the obvious, see the light of the day, and we have kind of failed to do that. But when we talk about oppression, the process of oppression by itself and how it sort of perpetuates is also, it's not just the brute force that we are talking about, it's also how it changes the psyche, changes the thought pattern of the person who's being oppressed. So, very often, the person who is undergoing oppression learns to relate to the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of the oppressor. So those belief systems which perpetuate oppression might be internalized, and therefore, after a point, the questioning might have stopped. So when you, despite all the best intentions, go and sort of ask them to change, that sounds like an alien concept. There also might be a lot of learned helplessness in the face of oppression, and especially when we talk about women and mental health. This phenomena, in the current socio-cultural environment that we live in, is very, very rampant, where there is just this learned helplessness, where you would not want to do anything for the simple fact that you don't think that anything can be done. And a lot of times, when the form of oppression is really harsh, really brute, when it sort of infringes upon somebody's physical dignities, it infringes upon somebody's safety to life. Sometimes just siding with the oppressor might seem like a safe mechanism, might seem like a survival mechanism, because it helps you live in that environment. It helps you somehow, however maladaptive it is, it helps you to sort of get your way, it helps you to survive. So, for those reasons, you might see a bit of reluctance in the so-called oppressed to help themselves. I would also recommend, there is this seminal work by the philosopher Paulo Freire on this very subject. This book that I would recommend you to read. It's called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And one thing that he really warns people who are conscious of the oppression about is not to assume the role of the oppressor. When you are conscious about the oppression, so you might have, due to whatever factors, developed a certain awareness that there is oppression. But how you make other people aware of that oppression, how you help other people also come to that realization, cannot be through the same force that you sort of stand up against. So it cannot be using the same means and methods that you're up against. So if let's say toxicity, or let's say power inequality or domination is something that you feel is perpetuating oppression, then you cannot be using the same instruments to make somebody aware of their oppressed status in the society. So you're going to have to need other mechanisms to make them aware of the oppression that is going on. So in this book, in this author's work, Paulo Freire uses a very beautiful term. It's called consensitization, which essentially means working on the mindset of the person, of the oppressed person that you're working with. Now, if we were to break it down into actionable sort of targets on how to bring about that awareness and bring about that change is for you to start with where this person is in their journey, with the oppression itself. Where, what kind of an attitude does this person have towards oppression, towards the oppressor? Just talking about it and not resisting it, not questioning it, uh, introducing a radically alternate paradigm, that's just not going to uh, hold any merit. That's just going to get a lot of uh, defensiveness on the behalf of the other person. So you're going to need to work with them. You're going to need to maybe take small steps with them, and appreciate smallest of the things that they do to sort of counter the oppressor. Also remember that in a lot of cases, the person might not be able to go all out and detach themselves from the oppressor, because they might depend on the oppressor for a roof over their head, or for meeting their ends meet. So in that case, you're going to need to take small steps towards the empowerment of the oppressed, work with them at their own pace. And one thing that you can definitely do is, so the person who's oppressed, the biggest thing that keeps that person down is, in my opinion, is this inability to maybe imagine an alternate kind of world, or imagine a situation where they can be free. So just leading by example there, where the smallest of things you try to do differently and portray them as examples, set them as examples in front of this person, for the person to look and learn and then internalize in their own behavior. So as I said, and I would like to reinforce, uh, one form of oppression cannot be countered by another form of oppression, or creating a different paradigm which is equally dominant. It can only be reversed when we're able to create that awareness which stems from within the person who's oppressed. And in order to be able to do that, we need to work with them, we need to take small steps which are acceptable to them, and we need to lead by example. And of course, this process is going to require a lot of patience on the part of the person who's attempting to undo this oppression, and also require a lot of empathy to be able to relate to the oppressed, and also to the oppressor if there is any hope there. I hope that answers your question.